I think we're on. Pretty sure.
Hello.
We're on.
Hi.
Hey.
Hi. Hi, everyone, and welcome to our drag panel, Fuzzy and Fierce, the hairy side of drag. You may have met me before. My name is Avias. Feel free to call me Evie. I will be serving as your moderator today. Drag can come in all shapes and sizes and follicles. And I'm featured with 5 other of our most gorgeous stream queens that are here to feature different varieties of hair, whether it's on your chest, face, head, or I don't know, maybe somewhere else. I'll let you all introduce yourself. We're going to start with Twy, the queen. If you want to say hi to all of our gorgeous people in Stream Queen Con 3, and we'll start the little conversation.
Okay, let's get into it. Hi, everyone. My name is Twy the Queen. I'm a beard dragger here on Twitch. Play a lot of ZBD. My pronouns are she, they, and drag, he, they, out of drag, or any. It doesn't really matter out. But yes, I'm Fuzzy. I'm here to slay.
What about you, Carrie?
Hello, I'm Carrie the One. I use she, they pronouns in drag, he, they pronouns out of drag. I also play a lot of Dead by Daylight, but also some Fortnite and lots of scary horror games lately. So we'll love to talk about that at some point. Based here in Maine. And yeah, I've been doing bearded drag for like a year and a half now ish.
I love it. And damn, you do it so well. What about you, Camille? Tell us a little about you.
Hello, my name is Surreal Camille. I go by Surreal as a musician and Camille Eon as a drag bitch because I just be changing my mind on things. I do very out there drag. My name is Camille Eon because I be changing my face every opportunity I get. I just started incorporating my mustache into my drag last year around this time, and I've been doing drag since 2019. I play a lot of things on the Twitch, and I'm happy to be here. Thank you, Evie.
Good to have you. Read a book. I heard you have something to maybe write down and say to us all.
Hi everyone. My name is Read a Book, Miss Read a Book if you're dumb, Dr. Read a Book in a few years, hopefully. And I am the queen of quotes, quips, and quiddities. I am sort of like a fancy bookmark come to life over on Twitch. I primarily play a lot of story-based games, as you can probably imagine, but I'm also recently in my toxic Fortnite era, so that's been really fun to explore. And yeah, I'm just excited to be here and learn from these Hirosuit honeys.
Mhm. And last but absolutely not least, Gabe, what about you?
Hi there, I'm Gabe Pride. Thank you all for being here tonight. I am one of the newest members of Team Stream Queens. My pronouns in drag are she and they, out of drag, he and they. On my channel, I play a lot of Nintendo games. Right now, playing a lot of Splatoon, a lot of Pokemon, the new one. I've been doing drag. I just celebrated my 3-year anniversary, so I'm very excited to be here.
Yes. You all look so good. I'm just staring at the monitor and forgetting that we're streaming live right now for Stream Queen Con 3. I'm like, ooh, I love that eyebrow. Oh my gosh, I love that lip. Like, can I borrow those gloves? That sounds nice. I'm not wearing nails today, so please take it easy on me. Um, well, we're gonna go over a couple topics today. I know being somebody that features like myself, a beard, mustache, we have a variety of different kinds of facial features here on the panel. So whenever you're streaming or if you're going to work a gig, what do you consider yourself? Me personally, I am a drag queen. That's how I like to be referred to. But if we'd like to go down, we'll kind of go in the same order. How do you express yourself? And does your drag involve any of your gender identity? What do those things look like for you? We'll start with Twy.
So I identify as a drag queen. He gets confused. It was like, oh, drag king. No, the beard is not mean like bearded drag, like dragging. No, drag queen, and I use it to express myself and dragon out dragon. I love incorporating it into my dragon, slaying and owning both sides of my gender, male and female sides, and match them together and doing this.
Just something a little kind of a blender, stir up of all
A
of it.
blender,
Little
spit in
ninja.
there.
What about you, Carrie?
Yeah, I also generally refer to myself as a drag queen. Drag artist works as well. I think I see using my beard as a way of sort of keeping the like drag queen umbrella nice and broad. I think as drag becomes more mainstream, it gets more kind of mainstream exposure. We see the sort of narrowing of the lane for drag queens, and so I think for me it's a conscious choice that yes, even with the beard, even with the mustache, even with all the things that might appear more masculine, still a queen. Get used to it.
How about you, Camille?
I actually very recently tweeted out something along the lines of like, what is it called when you genuinely don't care what gender people refer to you as? And and I got some great responses. But I've recently realized that I'm gender apathetic. I just don't really consider gender when I get in like when I'm getting in drag, regardless of if I'm wearing a bra or a skirt or a dress, whatever, these things that society has labeled as being gendered. I don't consider gender when I'm wearing those things. So I'm a reptile, a creature, an experience. I'm an artist at the end of the day. So
Drag
Queen
creature. I love
King.
that.
Amen.
call me my only pronouns are just the ones that come with respect, because I can smell a stink.
Mm.
So
Mhm.
call me what you
True.
want, but don't get caught up.
What about you, Rita?
So I similar to Carrie, I identify as a drag queen, drag artist, fine with either of those. I've always sort of thought of myself out of drag as a feminine man, and in drag I'm a handsome woman. So I like to sort of like play with those ideas of sort of feminizing the masculine and masculinizing the feminine as well. But yeah, that's pretty much been generally how I've identified as more in like the drag queen, drag artist sort of space.
I love that. How about you, Gabe?
For me, I also identify mostly as a drag queen. During the pandemic, I got to explore a lot of my own gender identity, coming to terms that I'm non-binary. I never had the chance to really show a feminine side to me. So when I started drag, it was, okay, let me do the opposite of what I normally present myself as. I'm not going to compromise myself and my values of keeping my beard. So how can I incorporate, this into my drag and still make it feminine, but me?
Yeah, like I'm really glad that bearded drag is as beautiful as I would like to be, because my goodness, I don't know about you or the rest of you, but I would have to shave 2 times a day. I mean, I streamed before this. I was like, oh my gosh, do I need to like reshave? Because my beard grows all the way up to here.
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
it's like, okay. So some people think that like, we don't put a lot of effort into our drag, especially if we feature something that is more facially inclined. But honey, like when you pump out follicles the way that we pump out follicles, you've got to stay on top of it.
Oh, I agree.
hmm
Amen.
So, have you always been a bearded artist? I've kind of heard a mixture. Me, myself personally, I've been doing drag for 6 years. I did not start as a bearded artist. Whenever I got into drag, I would do full shave. I would look like I was going to get ID'd if I wanted to buy canned air for my computer. I'm going to the store. I've had a beard since I was probably, or at least a goatee since I was 13. But like, tell me something about, and I'll kind of throw this out to the crowd. What is something, did you always been a bearded queen? Have you had kind of a transformation? Camille, you kind of talked about your journey in drag. Let's go a little bit deeper into that.
Totally. I was actually so bummed last year that I hadn't made this realization in time to be on this panel, because it was right around probably Halloween,
Mhm.
November-ish when I made the switch. But I really, was stuck in the gender norms of it all. And with my change in including my facial hair, I also changed my drag name, my Twitch name. There's people here who know me as that bitch that dead bitch. I'm a Betty Black.
I went to her
which-
funeral.
Oh, thank you. I hosted it. Funny you should mention that. Rest her soul. But I don't know. I went through. I was having my mustache gives me a lot of euphoria as when I'm male presenting. I just feel more personality. I feel more myself when I have it when I'm out of drag. And it's just something that I had to come to a realization with over time. I was losing a lot of confidence as I was getting better in drag. When I was before I was including my mustache in it, and I was just stuck, and I was feeling myself making a lot of changes and wanting a lot of change, but sort of being afraid to just pull the trigger on them. So I just said, and when I feel that way, I just pull the plug and let the floodgates go, because I really embrace change and I love change. And again, it's why the name Camille Eon is so important to me, because I'm that bitch, So
That's right.
Love that.
What about anybody else? Have you kind of
Um,
had a journey in drag?
So I was like a lover of drag for a very long time, and I spent a lot of time like with my perfectionist sort of like tendencies of like when I started, I wanted to have like a very clear idea of like who Rita was, what she looked like. Like to me, Rita is like a separate character, and I really wanted to be thoughtful about like what my first time sort of like debuting her looked like and thinking through that. And sort of like through that process, it was, you know, thinking about a name, thinking about like her backstory and like doing all of that. And sort of in that time I had like moved from I'd moved from living in Berlin to living in Nashville, so going from a very like very queer space to a very sort of, you know, socially conservative. There weren't a ton of like the same outlets that I was accustomed to, having lived in Berlin. And so I started like playing with my femininity, painting my nails, playing with makeup, seeing the makeup with the beard. And so when I was sort of developing the character, it was, I didn't want to, like, I had really liked the idea of trying to integrate the beard in a way with the makeup to where the makeup distracts you from the fact that I have a beard. Like, it's just like, it's like having contour. It's like an extra little bit going on.
The
Which
feature.
isn't, yeah, it's a feature. And it was also sort of, you know, like, not to be trite, but like some of my teachers growing up had facial hair, and some of the most beautiful people in the world have facial hair, and embracing that. And like like for me it was about like how to accentuate that element and like take it to the next level, as opposed to just sort of, you know, getting rid of it and trying to go like a more quote unquote traditional sort of like female illusion drag sort of aesthetic. Because I do think it's a very defining feature, and it really, it's both a challenge, but it's also a challenge that I really enjoy. So
Yeah. Anyone else have a journey they'd like to share?
Yeah.
I do actually.
Oh no, go ahead.
No.
No,
Oh,
no,
thank
go
you,
ahead.
Clay. No, thank
Stop
you, thank
it. Stop it.
Oh,
Uh,
we're all going
Yeah,
again.
they're
We're
fighting.
Don't worry,
The girls
I'll
are
thank you.
Everybody all at the
fighting.
same time. Yeah.
All right, we'll start with
Um,
Gabe. We'll start with Gabe.
So I started off, you know, doing bearded drag. I had this unfortunate experience with a local drag artist. Not unfortunate because she's a friend of mine, but very early on, she was like, "Okay, when you're ready to shave your beard, I'll paint your face." And I'm like, "Oh, so you don't think that I can look as pretty and beautiful with a beard
Hmm.
as you do, and the only way I could look that way is if I shave." And that really threw me off for a while. I did do like a couple weeks. I shaved my face. I tried to do drag beardless, and I look back at the pictures and the clips. I'm like, that's not me, and I should never compromise what I believe in and how I believe I look
Yeah.
for anybody else and their opinions about it. And you know, I don't think that she meant it in any kind of negative way. But when, you know, people just try to go for that, yeah, I will say, you know, I was, before I knew about local drag, I was a big fan of Drag Race, and that gives you a specific illusion of what femme drag should look like. But
Yep.
you know, that doesn't have to be the case, and I'm still learning that.
I love that.
And I was the same way. I watched Drag Race. I was like, oh, you look this way. It's the only way that's acceptable. And it's not. And it's Hydro, which I know a lot of people know Hydro. If not, a follow, amazing person. He wanted to do British drag for his 1 year on stream. I was like, okay, let's go. I didn't do British drag. I don't know what this is. No. So I grew my beard out. Started because I was practicing on stream. And then I had the troll was like, you can't do that. That's ugly. I'm like, don't tell me what to do. I don't like that. And drag is a political statement. Anyone who says it's not, it's a political statement every day. You throw on a wig,
Amen.
whatever, political statement. And I've been very political. I'm very outspoken. I'm opinionated on politics. So it's like a big, huge middle finger to everyone who's like, drag has to be this.
Right.
Well, Drag Race doesn't show that, so it's not valid. Yes, it is. All drag is valid. And doing beard drag taught me that all drag is valid, and there's other types other than looking clean face, pretty, twink, white, whatever. There's other sides of drag other than what you think a show tells you. Go to local bars and you'll see so much more than what should be showcased on the show.
Sort of like related to that, I was very influenced, like sort of like with my Drag Race standum very early on, of like the Marco fashion shows, like the very early ones that featured a lot of like Drag Race alumna and Drag Race artists, and then seeing Matthew Anderson at the very end of it, and like following like you know, his Instagram back when it was still active, and just seeing like, you know, the makeup artist of that like has given us the face of RuPaul, maintaining a beard and like integrating it into the wig, into the look, into all of it, and seeing it still be a celebration of like femininity, but like integrating it with all of the other elements. Which like to me, I think like the confidence to sort of do bearded drag is from seeing other bearded queens and other bearded artists, and sort of like the ways that they play with makeup, with wigs, and they sort of play with all the crayons in the box to make a beautiful painting, right?
So true.
Well, that's a mixed, you know,
Yeah.
I don't know
analogy, but you
anything
get the point. You get
about-
the point.
I don't
Play
know
with all
anything about using all
the
the crayons.
watercolors to make a painting or whatever.
No,
I did want to make
that's
sure that
okay.
we hit on Carrie if we needed to. Carrie, have you always been a bearded artist? Have you, you know, you jumped out the gate and you just popped out there in drag and said, you know
Born
what,
this
this is
way."
me. Yeah.
No, not at all. But for me, it was really more of a practical decision. So for about a year and a half, was streaming barefaced drag. And I decided to start shaving my brows. And it was honestly mostly because I hated how I looked without brows and facial hair. It was just full like egg. So I was like, well, we have two options. I can learn how to glue down my brows, or I can learn to embrace the beard. And that's, you see which way I went with that. So, but yeah, it is, you know, I love what Ty said about, you know, it's a statement too. I think for me, one, it's a great way to set yourself apart from most of your local drag artists. It's immediately something that, you know, I am known as the bearded queen in my area because I'm one of the only ones. And I love the way that it kind of, you can see the gears start to grind when you tell someone you're a drag queen and you've got a beard or a mustache or something that reads to them as not feminine. And I love that moment. I love that moment of seeing someone like, okay, well, how do I rationalize what I'm looking at and kind of find a way to put this in a box that feels comfortable for me. So
Yeah, that's actually a great conversation starter for our next question. We are atypical. I am active in my local scene, and I'll be out at the bar or I'm hanging out, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm a drag queen, and they'll just kind of look at me like, well, you must not be working because you've got a full beard. You must be not that good. So when somebody can approach you, whether it's in your Twitch stream, whether it's live, how do you navigate those conversations? I know that we're all beautiful and we are expressing ourselves in a lot of different ways, but somebody comes up to you and they're like, oh, but you know, why? What's your kind of like knee-jerk reaction, or how do you respond to those people that are we'll use a pleasant term, like confused? How do you kind of align and straighten out those those type of confusions?
We meet them at the 7-Eleven parking lot and we fight.
yeah,
It's going down.
It's going
Little
Yeah.
down.
Betty and
Big
Lil
rings.
White. Come on now.
Get the Slurpee ready.
Like,
I have a story sort of related to this. So I used to be pretty active like with a trivia team like back in my last city. And it was sort of like an intergenerational like queer team. So it was such a like place of solace. And so, but like I didn't really talk a lot about like drag necessarily because it just like wasn't always like the most pressing conversation. But then I mentioned it to one of like, you know, the elders in our team, and he immediately, and I said like, oh, I do drag, just sort of like mentioning it, and he said, oh, do you keep the beard? And I said, yeah. And then he said, oh, so it must be booger drag, and it must like, meaning that it's like that I'm not taking it seriously, that I don't look good. And I think sometimes the best way to react to people like that with that sort of like mindset, the proof is in the pudding, baby. A picture's worth 1,000 words. The moment you pull out your Instagram, the moment you pull out like the best of the best pictures, it really course corrects of like you're winnowing down like an entire aesthetic, an entire character, an entire like art form to just like individual elements. And once you are able to sort of see everything together, it shuts that down really, really quickly. I've found.
Honestly, a
But-
picture will shut them down so fast. I mean, the second that, you know, you show the work that you present, how you kind of construct your beard into your look, and it's not something we like, all think about secondary. we think about it every day. I mean, we get out of the shower and we're like, oh my gosh, Camille, you use a mustache primarily. Some of us use beards. I see some of us are separated between our mustaches and our beards. Other have it connected. I don't have that great of a line, so I can't do what Carrie does. Like, can't. I'm still got to take my vitamins, my Flintstones there every once in a while. But anybody else, like, what is, how do you respond to people that give you that kind of confusion? Do you course correct? Do you just give them the finger and say, GTFO? What do you do?
For me, it's polite correction. When I was streaming and I was blocking my eyebrows, this new person came in. They're like, "Oh, well, do you do the same thing with your beard? Do you put glue over your beard to, get into drag?" And I'm like, "No, that would be a lot of glue. One, and two, no, it's just a part of who I am." And you know, I think a lot of that just comes from that ignorance of thinking this is how a drag queen should look, clean shaven. But most of the time I don't get any negative feedback about. Nope, that's the lie. One time I made a close friend say that makes me uncomfortable, and I was like, good. I'm glad it makes
Good.
you uncomfortable.
Why? Why
Because
does it make you
Yeah.
uncomfortable?
Also, why?
Yeah.
Good and why?
And we had that conversation.
Okay, good. Okay, good.
Good.
And why?
That's what I was gonna say. I
That's
know this
wild.
is a really annoying tactic, but I love to flip it back on them and like answer the question with a question. Okay, why do I include the beard? Why wouldn't I? Why shouldn't I? Why couldn't I? Because there is no valid answer to that question. There is no good answer to
Mhm.
why wouldn't you include a beard that isn't rooted in, well, because RuPaul said so. Ultimately, that's
Yeah.
what it all comes down to. So I love to just answer the question with a question, and that shuts them down pretty quick, and then they
And
can do it.
It's also the notion that like all drag is about female impersonation, right? And like all
Right.
drag is about like a specific like aesthetic that isn't like, I mean, anybody that's a lover of drag knows that that's not true, but like that is still sort of like permeated in the culture, that it's all about like the transformation, right? Like the very binary transformation of like
Yeah.
boy to girl, and like and what that means of like getting rid of and sort of like completely transforming, as opposed to like, well, no, they can be complements to each other, and they can also be sort of like either at ends or in connection with each other, and these two sort of like presentations, whether that's in drag or out of drag.
Yeah, like we are mixing things that are stereotypically masculine with maybe feminine features or non-binary features. We constantly call into question what gender norms are, and that's what makes I think in particular, I'm a little biased, but our drag so important to show that there can be something that makes you question what you thought was feminine. As a drag artist, I have a very big belief that we sell a feeling.
Mhm.
That is what we do, and sometimes that feeling isn't always, who wants to buy a shot and do that behind the bar. Our feeling sometimes is calling things into question, like Twice said earlier. It's a political statement of we have a sorted experience within our own life that comes to life in our drag. And that's why seeing all of you here on the screen is and hearing your kind of experiences is absolutely beautiful. And more people need to see though, and we need to have more conversations like that. One,
I would like to add
you-
really quickly. I haven't been out and about doing mustache drag for very long. I don't do a whole lot of live gigs. It is often featured on my channel, but I don't know if it's because of the way I paint. I don't know if it's because I'm intimidating, but people don't be fucking with me with my mustache. like I don't really get
Good.
I don't really get several like weird questions, and I think part of it is because if there are questions, it's about other things painted on my face. Because I just paint in such an abstract way, like it's far from reality as I can, or you know what I mean. But
Mhm.
it's so I don't know if it's that or just my tendency to just shut people down when they even seem like they're about to ask something that I don't want to hear. So maybe it's a combination of the two.
But
I
I
like
do
that.
think that there is a little bit of reticence, or even to a certain extent like tokenization of like quote unquote a bearded queen, a bearded
Mhm.
performer, right? Like my first show that I really got like a chance for was like at almost like the main host and several of the cast members were bearded, right? And
Mhm.
so like sometimes you have to go to those spaces, prove yourself to a certain extent, or just like really just have to like hit the ground running and trying to prove like your artistry and like in its full ability. And it is sometimes frustrating when it is this mentality of like, like, oh, like we don't need a bearded queen, or we only want one bearded queen for this weekend, or like whatever.
Yeah.
Because like it is sometimes like seen as like all bearded queens are doing the same thing, which is very reductive. Look it up, as Madonna once said.
Put your paws down.
But but I do see sort of like that, you do, I feel like, have to really prove yourself and like prove like your space on that stage in a different way when you're bearded. And there's also an assumption about the performance that usually accompanies like being a quote unquote bearded queen.
Yeah, and like that is an assumption that it's made about us all the time is
Mhm.
we're lazy. We're not doing as
Lazy.
much. We're we're
Or
not
it's all comedy. It's like the
Yeah,
genre
we're
of
shtick.
like, yeah, it's the genre of like man in a wig, first time out in drag, like very like schlocky, which is a totally valid form of drag, but it's the preconceived assumption that that's how all forms of bearded drag are.
Yeah, and unfortunately, like you mentioned, we have to work a little bit harder, especially if we are in a space that breaches the conventional, even within a drag. It's a cis person dressing up as another cis person. Is the stereotypical drag. When we blend that line, we have to work a little bit harder. Unfortunately, to kind of prove our worth, whether it's through our makeup skills, our entertainment, our comedy, our like for me, I've got opposable thumbs, like they're very, very talented. Like you have to lead with those sort of things. And I know this wasn't a question, I did give our participants questions beforehand, but I wanted this panel to be a little edifying of what it is to be a bearded individual. So if I could just like quickly go around, and being fuzzy or in your drag, it can feature your hair or not, but like what is something that makes you an aspect of your drag, your eyes, your eyebrows, your colors, your what makes you feel the most beautiful, that is part of your drag. And I'll just kind of go around the circle, so we'll start with Twy.
Honestly, size and lashes.
Yeah.
Ugh. We talked about this last night. I can't get without my lashes. But lashes, you throw those on, you're like, ooh, it's there.
She wasn't here, but she's here. She's here.
She's arrived. She's ready for the gig.
She's ready to lash out, baby.
What about you, Carrie?
I think for me it is the beard now. Of course, before it was different, but I think for me, when I just fill mine in. I don't use any product or anything. I just use eyeshadow and fill mine in. But I feel like it just frames everything so well, and that anything else I do can be wonky and is usually wonky. But if the beard is right, it's gonna be a good night.
So true.
Oh, I wasn't ready
Put
for
that
the
on a
rhyme.
t-shirt. Put that on a
Come on,
t-shirt.
Dr. Seuss.
Yeah, Camille's getting some paper. What's going on? Let me write that down. What about you, Camille? What makes you feel like this your best aspect, what you love to just really paint or emphasize within your drag?
I am so torn. Outside of what I put on my face, I love featuring the chest hair. I don't have a beard, but I call it my lower beard. And so I'm also a bearded drag artist. But I think I have, I don't know, the mustache and being able to curl it is the main reason. I don't think I would keep it if I couldn't curl it, but I can. So I'm like, whatever colonizers are unfortunately in my bloodline, thank you for at least this, you sons of bitches.
Wait. You curl your chest hair?
My mustache.
Oh
It's a
my gosh. I
mustache.
was
Trying
just
to
like,
keep up, Evie. Come on.
I'm just like, how do you?
Imagine-
Yeah, that
Not
is
a bad idea though.
that is the smallest curler in the
Look
world.
into this. That's for masochism. Let's
Those
talk
are
about
finger
it.
curls. Those are finger curls.
Yeah, I love it.
Not a finger wave across my chest.
Is that a beach
Oh my
wave? I
God.
love it.
A 1920s moment.
I would say my mustache, and I don't know. It's just whatever my current obsession is. Sometimes I'm really obsessed with very stark black and white looks. Sometimes I'm obsessed with the contrast of white in the middle and flesh tone around. Sometimes it's the reptilian stuff. So mustache plus whatever the current face obsession is. That's me.
I love it. I absolutely love it. What about you, Rita?
I'd say probably two things. The first is just like broadly general hair features. So like I style my wigs, and they like I style most of my wigs, and that's like a huge part of like Rita to me is like the hair, the brows, the lashes, the beard. Like all of those things that are typically like, you know, like quote unquote like normal hair or whatever, like taking it and dragifying it and like those features coming together and it sort of being about like adding those elements and spending time with them and like, you know, curating them to a certain extent. And then the other thing is honestly the process. Like a huge part of the reason I love drag is the, you know, the blaring music. I'm shaving, I'm trimming, I'm shaving, I'm taking a shower, I'm doing the moisturizer, I'm sitting down, I'm painting, I'm powdering, I'm contouring, I'm doing lipstick, like I'm gluing, I'm, you know, then getting in everything. Like the whole process from start to finish is such like it's like a fun internal moment of like creative expression that it's like that to me is like the reason to do it, right?
The process itself can be so beautiful and
Mhm.
and separating. It's nice to have kind of that transition and just really work through it. How about you, Gabe?
For me, it's also two things. First is any kind of lip
Mm.
is very affirming to me. I do feel like my smile is one of
Come
my best
on.
features.
Come on,
that
smile.
I really love about myself.
Retweet.
So just anything to accentuate that really makes me feel very gorgeous about myself. And then secondly, just the outfits that I get to wear, the clothes I get to play with. I come from a dance background, so I got to always wear these wonderful, fun, extravagant outfits. And I don't get to do that anymore because I'm old and my body doesn't move like it used to. But in drag, I get to wear, you know, the sequins, the dresses, the gowns. So that's a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, like even if you're painting your face and you're like, oh gosh, this looks terrible, slap some glitter on it, and you're like, I cannot be told who I am. Like it is so
And a lash
good.
will change everything.
A lash with some glitter, like just give it up there, a little bit of a shimmer. So we probably get questions all the time on Twitch or in person. Like, what's our favorite tips? What is our favorite tricks? Whether it is your beard maintenance, whether it's your favorite makeup product, like what is something that you in your kit or in your routine, whether it's hair preparation, that you just cannot live without? And I'll probably go the other way back around this time. What about you, Gabe? Let's start with you if you're okay.
Yeah. So two things I do for my beard maintenance a lot is, unfortunately, I do get a lot of dry skin under my beard. So I use Head and Shoulders. You know, works on the head, it works on the beard.
Head,
And then-
shoulders, chin.
Head, shoulders, knees, and toes.
It's part of
That's
the head.
right.
The chin is part of the head.
Not sponsored, but we're listening.
Listen.
I scream in 2 and 1.
And then
Love
I use a rosemary oil because it helps with hair development. It makes it grow longer. So I do that like every 2 weeks. And that's a little secret that I like to do.
What do you do with Rosemary's Baby, though?
We don't talk about her.
I brought that into the beer
okay.
too.
35 millimeter at my local
Find it out.
movie
Yeah,
theater.
real nice.
Yeah.
It's not that scary. Rita, what about you? What's your favorite product, whether it's makeup or kind of your special hair follicle treatment tonic?
I mean, I'm one of those people that like all of my stuff. I've like slowly accumulated and I love. My beard process is very simple, but one thing that like I've always kind of gone back to, just because like I've never had an issue with it, is just like the simple Nivea aftershave. Like there's something that's just like the smell of it is nostalgic. It's just so nice and refreshing. Not sponsored, but I just love it.
But we'll take a check. Not sponsored, but
I
we'll
will
take a check.
happily.
Yeah,
I will
yeah,
happily.
yeah, yeah.
I will. I mean, I will say one of the funniest reads I've ever gotten, like on like a TikTok reel or like whatever, is somebody just said "Manscaped?" and I thought that was pretty funny and fierce if it would have been coming from a nice place, but it wasn't. Anyway,
Mamscaped,
would
as
say-
Carrie says. Mamscaped.
Manscaped. Love
I
that.
love
Love that. But yeah, I'd probably say that in terms of like beard stuff, and then makeup. It just depends on the day.
How about you, Cyril? Come here.
If you ever want to look like a reptile, just throw a fishnet, paint a base, throw a fishnet
Oh.
wig cap on that mug, and just scale where you want to scale. You know what I'm saying? As far as the mustache goes, some people gonna freak out for this, but I glue my mustache because I find that a lot of the same way I block my brows, or the same glue I use to block my brows, that goes on the stash. Mostly
Elmer's?
Eleanor Murphy's, yes, wherever she is.
Eleanor Murphy. Pledge.
Just
Pledge.
disappearing purple.
Yeah.
Premium.
Yeah. Pine Sol.
But that's primarily to hold the shape, because I find that a lot of mustache waxes will not hold the shape with what I'm for the duration of time that I need to stay in drag. But I do make sure I take care of that Diva, the stash. Afterward, I'll wash it, condition it, make sure the product doesn't stay on longer than I need to. Vitamin E, eucalyptus, eucalyptus, wecalyptus, like somebody clip this so that you remember this. But I would highly recommend those things for the stash. And I don't know about y'all, but like I am obsessed with like painting like some separation between my mustache and my upper lip. I the only thing that I hate about it is I can't overdraw my upper lip, because I there's some taking up that place. So I don't know if y'all like go out of your way to like really make that separation, because I wear a lot of black lips, so sometimes it'll just fuse into one. But I just need to make sure that the stash and the upper lip are separate.
I suffer from that as well, because like the space, but also white, so lips are not as.
She ain't got no upper lip.
Like I've got like a little bit of a Reba lip at the top.
The latest
so
Camdening.
the way that I trick that is to always have like not that. The way that I trick that is just like high contrast. Just high contrast at least like draws in the eye, because every time I've done like more of like a neutral brown type lip, it just like this whole area just is teeth and then brown hair. So
I love that.
I love that.
I love that for you. Yeah, mine just kind of like a little shelf. It's like a little sweeper. I'm like, you know what? Just in case I'm eating some pizza rolls or whatever, it can just kind of get the crumbs.
Save it for later, baby.
Yeah. Those stream sessions, they can get a little long sometimes. Gotta save a snack for later. What about you, Carrie?
I don't really use any like beard products or anything. But what I will say, and I know there are folks out there who say like, oh, my beard doesn't like grow in thick, or it's patchy or whatever. I love a good biotin gummy. I've been on it for a year and a half. She's thick. She grows in fast. She grows in thick. I love that.
Biotin,
Get that biotin, hair, skin, nails.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah, please do. I'm gonna need that. Yeah,
is that the one that they use in the prenatals? Like that grows the hair and the nails. You know what I'm talking about?
And I don't know.
This is not
skin and nails.
My experience.
This isn't a vitamin panel. Sorry.
That one's tomorrow.
Official GNC panel. Thank you.
Yeah.
So biotin, and then makeup black NYX Epic Ink liner.
Oh, isn't it the
Eyeliner.
best?
It's what I use for my brows. Perfect.
Work.
So cheap.
Good. How about you, Twy?
Well, no, Evie, what do you use? Because you ship me your spares. We all know.
Evie's out here hanging out handing makeup.
Not makeup wise. I usually hoard that for myself. I'm looking for your spares in makeup because you know how to actually use it.
See, that's our trade-off. You send me your trimmed your hair, I send you the makeup.
Oh, that is true.
That's
Yeah. I thought you were talking about my foundation. I'm like, oh yeah, no, I shave off my beard. Yeah, my beard. I was like, what the hell do you want from me? No, yeah, I trim my beard with my Manscaped razor. # was sponsored. I shave it off and then I put it in a little Ziploc baggie and I send it up to Twy. And I don't condition it. I actually, I just give it to you right up. So other than that,
I just
raw.
And then just spirit gum it on.
Yeah, spirit gum it on, and it looks great. Same color and everything almost. Yeah.
We love a lace beard, a lace front beard.
Come on now.
Lace is just glued on directly.
Yeah,
Like
just
so expensive.
sleep in it like a little coffin. I love it. So we do. I think some of us have different inspirations or who we first saw bearded drag from. Mine personally was Helvetica. I saw them in bearded drag for the first time, and there are a lot of different people that we look up to. And also people look up to us as well. So someone comes in there and they, oh my gosh. Well, I mean, mostly because we're tall, other than Twy.
Excuse you.
I'm
Most
also
people are
not very tall.
Yeah.
Rita, how tall are you? Sorry.
How tall am I?
Yes.
No heels, about 5'8".
Yeah.
I'm like,
yeah.
I'm like fine, but like people are always kind of like, oh, I thought you were taller, and I'm like, I'm not.
Who's the tallest
Okay.
after Dolidar though?
That's true. I don't know.
Because
I don't know.
Dolidar was voted the tallest member of Team Stream Queens. I'm 6'4".
Oh my gosh. Jolidar is 7'8", I think.
Yeah, I'm around.
We would
that.
take a very fun picture of this panel were in person.
Very true.
Because it would be like the cellular bars.
How's your reception? Is she 5G?
Mhm.
So
Can you hear me now?
Can you hear me now? So what would you ask for, or what would you tell somebody that wants to start bearded drag for the first time, or overall drag for the first time, whether it's bearded or not? What's your advice that you wish you could tell somebody, or that you knew when you first started? What was something that you could give some wisdom to the panel? And then I'll kind of just throw this out and let you fight over it, like it's I don't know, a really good Elmer's glue stick.
I'll start. Thank you for the segue.
Yeah.
Honestly, I would say just check in with yourself. I think
Mm.
self-reflection throughout the process is so important. And that's really because Camille Eon, we change and we grow and we develop. So think about what feels right, because it's really easy to get stuck in doing the same thing just because it's what you've been doing. It's really easy to get stuck in doing what someone else is doing because they inspired you and you sort of get too safe there. So I would say don't be afraid to shake shit up and just check in with yourself and be like, okay, how do I feel in drag? And if you're someone who's really like getting into it, really think about how you feel out of drag and how those two identities, how those two experience, not identities, drag is not an identity, but how those two experiences measure up to each other. Are you depressed out of drag and you only get your life in drag? We got to look at something, because that's not sustainable.
Right.
So I would definitely say reflect and don't be afraid to change.
Oh, beautiful words. Anyone else? Some good advice? I don't want to throw anybody in a spot that doesn't want to be thrown. So
To like adapt a well often like used quote that's like on, you know, throw pillows and whatever. Instead of being the change you wish to see in the world, be the deranged you wish to see in the world. Think about like what makes you have the most fun. Think about what elements you want to bring together. Like for me, it was about like this particular character. I loved wig styling. I loved like these different elements. I hadn't seen anybody that's applying something that I'm very interested in, education. It's like what I study, and like bringing that together with the world of drag, and like seeing the campy elements in education and bringing that together, and like two things that I love. So it's all about like thinking through what you find missing, and also balancing that with what you have the most fun doing, and optimizing both of those things. There's generally a really fun gray area to play around in, and you know that could involve a beard, that could not involve a beard, but like ultimately it's about like, what do you see that's missing that could really add a voice, add a perspective, and that could also like make you have a little bit more fun in the end of days. You know what I mean? Like, let's have a good time and like, you know, find a way to make ourselves creatively interesting to ourselves, especially.
yeah, don't be afraid to start. It's going to be a journey. Like with both of those
Yes.
answers, is you're going to discover things about yourself. You're going to discover things about your art. You're going to know the difference between a dense packing brush and a blending brush. I mean, you're going to figure those things
Wait, there's
out.
a difference?
Yeah, well, some of us know, Rita.
But relatedly, also don't be afraid to ask, because a lot of people are, I mean, girl, sometimes I'll get unsolicited advice. So like when you actually solicit it, sometimes, you know, you'll get some really good advice, but don't be afraid to ask and to reach out, because from my experience, a lot of drag entertainers, you know, they don't want to be your drag mom necessarily, but like some words of encouragement, some words of like inspiration. I mean, we're all vain creatures. Who doesn't want to be told like, you've inspired me to try to do this, how do I do it? Like,
Yeah.
I'll have a conversation, why not?
Anyone else have any
Yeah.
advice that they'd like to share with maybe you that you wish you would have known when you first started drag, or someone starting for the first time?
I have, I think, two. So one, kind of piggybacking off of what some other folks have said, don't be afraid to just do it, and don't
Yeah.
be afraid to just start. I think so many people, I think especially with social media playing so heavily into it, people refuse to start until they've got it nailed down and everything is perfect, and they've got the boobs, they've got the pads, they've got the look. Like, it's okay to start before it's like a fully formed. In fact, it's better that way, I think. Learn as you go, build the plane as you're flying it. And two, and I think this is even more important, and this is anytime someone DMs me on Instagram and is like, will you be my drag mom? Thank you for bringing that up. I send them this link. There's a link on my website where I think you need to learn the history of drag and learn what drag kind of started as, because I think that's another thing that we keep forgetting or losing as more new white twinks start drag, is they forget what drag is all about and what the whole point of it was. And in a world where we're getting like gunned down, and in a world where folks are threatening our events and our spaces, I think it's really important more now than ever to know where drag comes from, especially if you're a white person trying to take this on. So know your history, and don't be afraid to look messy before you look good.
Yeah, the art, the feeling, the inspiration, it's more than just an Instagram photo. You know, it's more than just getting a good lighting and a good angle, even though I know we all know how to do a good lighting and a good angle.
I mean, look at us now.
That's right. I mean, you know, take a
Wow.
screenshot. Take a screenshot. You know, being a drag artist and being a performer in general has a certain responsibility and a legacy that being a bearded person or a person that features hair, a follically fabulous individual, has a history and has a lot of beauty to it. Twy, Gabe, not to put you on the spot, but is there anything that
No.
you wish you would have known 3 years ago, Gabe?
Yeah, I think the one thing that would have really helped me is not to compare myself to everybody else that I was seeing, because that put me off doing drag for a long time, because I always thought I'll never look as good as they do. I'll never be as talented. I'll never, you know, be half the amount of an artist that they are. And, you know, it takes time to look as good as all of us right here. And I know I still have a lot to work on. And, you know, that's what makes me excited about this is it's a journey, and don't let anybody else dictate your journey.
Yeah. Go at your own pace, go at your own time,
Yeah.
and do your own thing. What about you, Twy? Other
I'm
than
gonna give a
grow your own beard.
try.
How about yours?
B5,
Take
B12.
biotin, apparently.
Yeah. Sending her one. It's for Christmas. We're getting Twy some biotin.
My advice: people always like, I can never do makeup like you. Yes, you can.
Mhm.
Stop that. We all start somewhere. It's like I started special effects. That's where my bread and butter was, and I kept elevating, learning. If I post a photo, you see I was busted about 6 years ago. Play in makeup, have fun. It's like today, I can beat a face in an hour, sure, but today I took 3.5 hours because I was having fun.
Fun.
I was playing with makeup. I was like, and I was in the Discord, like, I don't think I'm going to stream on time today. But too much fun. And just experiment, play. Don't stop being afraid to be pretty. Look stupid.
Yeah.
Look silly. Who cares? If you're happy, that's all that matters. And that's what
Allow
I tell my
yourself
younger
to have
self.
fun.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful advice. Kind of mishing it all together, especially Carrie. What stuck with me was just start. I'm sure all of us, the first time that we, you know, presented ourselves as a drag artist, we could not be told shit. We might have looked like shit, but we could not be told shit. And like the power of drag, the power of transforming and pushing and pulling our personalities or our presentations has so much power. Don't let your beard, your mustache, your chest hair, don't let any of those things hold you back. If anything, let them be to your boon. Let them be something that makes people go, oh, goddamn. They actually, oh, I didn't know you could do that. And speaking of which, I asked our beautiful, gorgeous, handsome panelists to provide me with an image that really particularly gives their drag aesthetic. So I'm going to flip through these, and I know we've got about 15 minutes left. So if you wanted to talk a little bit about the image, kind of maybe something that you look at it and you feel in a word, or a technique that you used for the first time that you learned doing that image. So I'm going to cycle through. I'm going to make sure that I got the right order because I told them beforehand what the order was, and I did some OBS shipping. So we're going to go Carrie, or we're going to go Twy, Carrie, Camille, Rita, and then Gabe. All right. So we will switch the scene here shortly. Just everyone hold your lunch together. There we go. Still can't hear everyone. Here you go. Twy, give this image a little fairy tale, a little fantasy. Tell us something about it.
So this look was inspired with having fun with makeup. I said earlier. So I did this to have fun with makeup, and I just wanted to experiment. And I love, once again, body painting is something that just, it just gets me going. So I was like, I will paint my skin blue. Let me throw on some pink. Let me be an elf. Let me be stunning. And that's what inspired this. Is like just having fun. I had no plan with this. This was just like me grabbing stuff and going. And that's what I created. And honestly, that's what I felt most beautiful, just being just blue skin. And like you said, being a chameleon and drag like that.
Mm.
There's something about that that just is so beautiful. And it makes me happy on the inside. And I love when I can do stuff like this, but also give pretty.
Yeah, I see you in this photo. I see your brows being a little bit different, having fun with the
Mhm.
shape, having I see your little I don't know, kind of the e-girl blush over the nose, like
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
cute. Like those different kind of techniques, and the skill is absolutely unmatched. That highlight placement too, like, is she metallic?
Listen,
Who is she? Like, I don't even
that's
know.
Anastasia Snowflake.
Oh, hashtag sponsored.
No.
Oh.
No.
All right, we're gonna go over to Carrie the One. Absolutely stunning. The purple goddess herself. Tell me about this look.
So I chose this one not necessarily because I think it's like a particularly good look, but two things. This was from this June around Pride Month, and so that had been a year since I came out as non-binary, and this was a non-binary flag inspired look, and I just was really proud of that. And I think this was a time in my kind of like drag journey that I felt like I was really letting myself break free from some of the kind of standards and expectations that come with doing kind of femme drag. So I was leaning into the chest hair. I was leaning into using the beard more like prominently. I was leaning into not having to have the kind of the polished, I would never have been caught dead in a flat wig like this before. But I was like, you know what? Let's lean into it. And I really, really liked it. So I think this was a time in my drag that felt really good in terms of just trying something different, whether or not I thought it was going to work out, leaning into kind of breaking some of those boundaries and breaking out of some of the limits I had placed on myself based on what I was hearing. So that's what I really love about this look.
Yeah, I think you touched on it a little bit about your gender fluidity and really embracing into that. What has drag taught you? I know not everyone's drag is part of their gender identity. There's a little bit of a mixture there for you. What does that look like? What does that feel like being a drag artist to express those features about yourself?
It feels good. I am so grateful for drag as the vehicle that I think has led me to be able to experiment and explore what my gender is and what gender even means to me. And I think that it can be the same for so many other folks. Like, how many stream queens do we know that have joined the team or started doing drag, and then give it a couple months, they're non-binary, they're coming out as trans, they're coming out as gender apathetic, and that's so good. That's so great. And I think, again, if you're approaching drag with the kind of reverence and respect that it deserves, it can be such a good method for doing that, as it has been for me.
I love that. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for
Yeah.
giving that little tip in. We're gonna move on over to our chameleon themselves,
Yeah.
transformation. Camille, tell us about this look that you're featuring today.
So I'm today doing a look. It's a little bit more understated than this, which is like understated for me, I guess.
Understated.
Today I'm just going to the grocery store. But this look, this photo specifically was just such an amalgamation. Like everything fucking worked this day.
Mhm.
Like sometimes I don't get the scales right. Sometimes the blending isn't quite what I want it to be. But on this day, I don't remember the day, everything was just clicking for me. But it wasn't even just the makeup. I've also struggled with my body image. I've struggled with accepting my weight the way that it is, and I wanted to choose this photo. I actually switched the photo that I was using for this because I wanted to showcase a little bit of side boob, because
Yes.
just some tasteful side boob.
Tasteful.
Because I don't know, my journey on Twitch has been so interesting and so exciting for me, because I have always felt unattractive out of drag in many ways. I felt undesirable out of drag in many ways. And when I tell you, when I saw this photo, I was like, I can be told nothing. I feel like you can't say a goddamn thing to me. Do I look like a reptile alien from Space Wakanda? Sure.
Yes.
But, and
Yes,
I I just feel, I don't know, I just feel so confident in my aesthetic here as an artist. I feel so confident in having my chest out in the way that I do. And I don't feel I feel no ways about them being married in one photograph. So I wanted to bring both of those things together in a bit of a different way, even for my look tonight. But I just love to play so much about what Twice Sweat, so much about what Twice said.
Why
really
sweating?
Like
Twice
when-
sweating wet.
We're all sweating, baby. With this facial hair, we all sweating. But this paint was so fun. This day was so fun. The stream was so fun. And I think that you can look at this photo. You can tell by the look in my eyes that I felt like the hottest bitch on planet Wakanda Saturn. So
I
it was a good time.
love it. And you
And that
mentioned,
blending.
oh,
Thank
I mean,
you.
the color choice is incredible. The color
It's so
choice is
good.
incredible. The neons, so stunning.
I know I'm gonna go get some of those fishnets immediately because I want to do some of those skills. Absolutely.
Girl,
I'm-
now.
The
Face
fishnets, but also
swaps.
the palettes, because those colors are so pigmented and bright and vibrant, and
Oh.
it's a
The-
really gorgeous picture.
The palettes are, and I'm like this. I don't even know if this is a super remarkable palette, but I use the Affiano neons, and then I have just Athena body paint that I use,
Hells
I write down
yes.
notes.
and
Yeah,
Meron
Right.
setting powder.
that's right. Free advice. Free
Mhm.
advice. Part of the panel.
Free? Oh no! You can slide right on
That's right.
over to PayPal. I'm just kidding.
You are more than welcome to subscribe to any and all channels, including Stream Queens here.
That's right.
Truly.
And thank you for sharing this, Camille. I really appreciate it. We're gonna move on to our next person. It is read a book. Well, let's read this book a little bit. Give us give the
Perfect.
stories.
So this is what I would consider to be like the sort of like classic Rita picture. So the first time I got in drag, it was during the pandemic. I had like finally styled my first wig. This is a recreation of the exact same like pose, location, outfit, different hair, better hair. I had styled that wig. This is also simultaneously the first time I performed in person. So it was a very special night for me because it was like me taking Rita like to a new chapter, which like I had been desperate for a stage and like ready to like start showcasing who Rita really is. So the entire vibe obviously is very like school marm. It's very particularly like you see her and you know she's a teacher. She's got the apple. And like there's so many things that I see in the picture that like got me there, if that makes sense. Like the nail choice was like I had been painting my nails in a very particular way for a while, where like the middle finger is always the accent nail, because I had gone through so many instances of people asking, why do you paint your nails? And you know, just to show off the beauty. It's playing with masculine and feminine. It was a hair style that I have sitting right over there that I still am very proud of. Classic like blue eye, which is very drag. I don't have those earrings on, but they say read a book because I didn't want people to forget my name, because I think that that's one of the best parts of my drag. Anyway, I was just like really feeling it before I like went into the performance, which I think I have a recorded version that is featured as sort of like one of the performance videos, like in the in-betweens or whatever, during Stream Queens Con. So yeah, I look at this picture and I always think like this, when I think of Rita, this is like in my head exactly what I picture, except slightly bigger hips now. And you're missing the beautiful elevated pleasers that of course that I love to,
Of
I love to
course.
wear.
Yeah,
Of
I mean, if you're
course,
anything like me,
of course.
the pandemic gave us all a little bit of a bigger hip. You know, that's
Yeah.
what we had to do.
Yeah. And
Come on
also
now.
the Adore Pleaser is very it's a very comfortable performance shoe for about
Always.
5 minutes. For about 5 minutes.
Oh my gosh, thank you for sharing this. I love that you were able to. I look at this look and there's so many aspects of it that just had a lot of attention to detail, and I appreciate that. We're gonna go over to Gabe for again this gorgeous look. I'm absolutely
Yes,
I
let's
love
look at
purple.
it.
Yes, tell me what
Thank
this
you.
feels. Tell me a little bit about this look, what you learned, or what you love about it.
So this look is basically a culmination of everything that I wanted to do with my drag. This was taken at my very first performance only a couple months ago. I had always wanted to perform. I just wanted to get to the point where I felt like I was ready, whether it be, you know, makeup wise, body wise, costume wise. And I feel like I've finally gotten to the point to where I felt very confident with my drag going out. Obviously, purple, my signature color, the lip, the wonderful exclamation point Matsuge lashes by the wonderful Alexis
A
Atari.
staple. Gorgeous.
Gotta have them. Yeah, it felt so empowering to finally feel like I got to the point that I always never thought I would get to,
Yeah.
in the early days of my drag.
I love
So it's
that.
very empowering for me.
And I know you mentioned earlier about your smile, and like just looking at this photo, I immediately become so happy, and I can just see it in your eyes. I can see it in your smile, and I really appreciate you sharing that look with us today.
Thank you so much for allowing me.
I'm going to go on over to all of us. That unfortunately happens to be the end of our time slot. I know we are too bearded, too busty, too many follicles on the screen. We're going to get the rope here pretty quick. But if you wanted to, I want to just kind of circle us around, introduce ourselves one last time. My name is Avidius. Feel free to call me Evie. I'm your busty bearded beer loving babe here on Twitch. You can find me at twitch.tv/Avidius515. And we'll start with Twy.
My name is Twy the Queen, but you can just call me Twy. You can also find me on all social media, Twy the Queen. Stream every Monday through Thursday, 2 o'clock CST.
You
Love
can't.
that. I'm Carrie the One. I don't have a cute little catchphrase, but you can find me on Twitch Monday, Thursday, and Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm also on all socials as Carrie_the1. Don't follow the other Carrie on YouTube. Thank you.
How about you, Camille?
I go by Sir Real as a musician. I go by Camille Eon as a drag artist. You can call me Cammy, Camille, or Sir if you're nasty. And I can be
That's
found
better.
at Sir Real Camille and all social media platforms where I feel like being. Shoot your shot. No, don't shoot your shot. Just roll the dice and see
You
if I'm
heard
on
it
that
here.
platform. But yeah, I'll be live on Tuesday.
I love it. How about you, Rita? Please, Rita Burke.
Hi everyone, I am Rita Book, Miss Rita Book if you're dumb, Dr. Rita Book in a few years, hopefully, but on Twitch and on all social media platforms, you can find me at Please Rita Book. I was recently mentioned in Trixie Mattel's most recent video, which was very fierce, slay hunty.
Slay.
Generally, you can find me on Twitch on Wednesdays out of drag, and usually on the weekends. It kind of fluctuates, but typically on Sundays in drag, where I will, I do a makeup stream and then play some games. Otherwise, I'm generally trolling multiple stream queens' chat and just being a general nuisance and making very bad jokes. And in case you forgot, I am a fan of books, so I have my book fan.
Oh,
So true.
okay.
Love
All
that.
valid. All valid. Yeah, we're not going to be invited back after that. Thanks, Rita.
You're welcome.
Over.
Gabe, how about you? Tell us about you and your socials.
Hey y'all, I'm Gabe Pride. You can find me everywhere, at Gabe Pride. Streaming on Fridays and Saturdays, usually in drag. And then in January, I will be part of the Stream for a Cause drag pageant. So catch me there.
Yes. I might know someone that's hosting that pageant. All right. Well, thank you all for tuning in for Fuzzy and Fierce, the hairy side of drag, and enjoy the rest of your Stream Queen Con 3. Say goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye,
Bye,
everybody.
Bye, me.